Kenya's next general election is in 2022, but our visitor to this country may be forgiven for thinking elections are next year. In fact, there's more politics, more campaigning in Kenya than America, where their elections are due in 2020. That's next year. So it's fitting for us to talk about 2022 today. And I want to isolate two things to talk about. One, that there's going to be a constitutional amendment targeting 2022. Of course, that constitutional amendment will not be from the Punguza Mizigo initiative, beautiful as it may be, popular as it may be. It will be about the BBI. It's about the handshake constitutional amendment. So that's going to take place before 2022. The next thing I want to talk about 2022 is that it's going to be about formations, almost as usual, but this is much more so. And these formations are two. One, the so-called dynasty formation, and the two, the hustler formation. Therefore, for those who aspire for presidency, including the wannabes, if you are not with the dynasty, if you are not with the hustler, you are nowhere. Choose. So my advice to people like Musalia Mudavadi is to be strategic by looking at the two formations and joining them. Joining a formation doesn't mean you join in an inferior position. You can join that formation and lead the formation. For smaller wannabes like Kibwana and Mutua, they should push for the changes in the constitution because these changes are likely to introduce regional governments. And therefore, Alfred Mutua and Kibuda Kibwana could be garnering for the governor of the eastern region, lower eastern region. Somebody might call it Ukambani region. The same will be reproduced in many other places in this country, where those like Oparanya and the rest should be pushing for this so that they may become regional governors. Now, to the dynasties. A lot has been said. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta came out during the commemoration, the 41st commemoration of the death of his father, categorically to say that leadership is not about dynasties. It's not about who you are in terms of where you come from. It's not about your race. It's not about your tribe. It's about the desire to serve. It's about service and not background in terms of lineage. And by the way, I want to congratulate the president for making this 22nd day, August, now a private family affair, as indeed it should have been. But much more importantly, I think this country does not seem to respect its heroes, the people who sacrificed everything for us. We need to have a hero's corner where you go and find the people who fought for this country like Jomo Kenyatta, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. They should be buried somewhere, and when we visit there, we remember and we are proud of them. However, all the same, it is good that the president has found it fit, after consultation with the family, that this ought to be not a national affair, but really a private affair. So during this occasion, the president came out strongly. There are those who feel and say and argue that the president was targeting his deputy. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure about what he said, is that you cannot block somebody becoming something merely on the basis of the fact that their father was something. That their father was something, and on that alone, you deny an able Kenyan a position of leadership in an organization, in government, a position to be head of state, to be minister, to be anything, just because their father was this. That I agree with him. But what are these dynasties? I think they go back to around the 14th century. A dynasty, honestly, is a strong family that withstands time over many years, dominating an area. It could be business, it could be politics, and usually with the politics, of course, the most known dynasty is the Chinese dynasty that lasted for about, some Chinese dynasty, that lasted for about 300 years. Now you want to ask yourself, first, is there anything wrong with a member of a family wanting something? The answer is definitely no. Politics is about profile. Politics is about having a name that is visible. And what easier way to be visible than that your father was a member of parliament and you too want to be an MCA or a member of parliament? That your father was a minister and that you want to be a member of parliament. The fact that your father was something merely gives you visibility. So long as those in those positions do not use them to their advantage. It has happened in many other places. In America, we had the Adams, the Roosevelts. More recently, there was Bush and his son, and an attempt by Hillary Clinton to be president after the husband had been president about 10 years earlier. So there's nothing wrong. In South Africa, we saw Zuma's wife attempting to succeed him. In Africa, there have been other cases, in Gabon and the rest of those places. Some of the most famous examples will be found in Pakistan, in India. You know, those famous families. There will be nothing wrong because being a member of a family merely gives you visibility. But now bring it back to politics of Kenya. Would this be a liability to Uhuru and Raila? That is what we are engaging on. That is the conversation we must be having as we try to look at 2022. Because then 2022 is going to be about narratives. And the emerging narrative, the top narrative, is the hustler narrative and the dynasty narrative. Are we saying that because those who drive the dynasty narrative, those who say that we cannot allow Uhuru, Raila, Moi, and Mudavadi to ascend to power merely because they were fathers who were things, will they have their day? Even as they are challenged by Raila Odinga, who argues Jaramogi was just a pauper before he became vice president. He had just been a teacher, I think at Masen or something like that. Kenyatta was a mere meter reader. He wasn't anything. He was even suffering in London to pay rent. And therefore, you could perhaps, if you want to talk about a political family, yes. You could perhaps talk about a dynasty, yes. But that is if Uhuru is succeeded at some point by his daughter, Ngina, or one of his sons, you know, if one of his sons or daughter succeeds him at some point, not immediately, and perhaps their daughters or sons, and then their daughters and granddaughters succeed, you could perhaps talk of a dynasty. But for now, you cannot talk of a dynasty until Raila becomes president, Winnie becomes president or prime minister, Winnie's daughter or son or grandson, then you could talk about dynasties. But as a political narrative, anybody from the handshake side ignoring this will be doing so at great cost to them come 22. As equally, anybody ignoring the hustler narrative from the same side will be doing themselves great disservice. But as there is the hustler and the dynasty narrative, so do we also have the other narrative from the other side, that the Ruto side is so corrupt that is made of thieves, and the thieving is at such a level that nobody can entrust the leadership of this country in the hands of such a thieves. So you can see these are competing narratives. One is that we cannot give power to dynasties, that we need to give hustlers an opportunity to rule this country. And the other, yes, we can give the leadership of this country to anybody, but not a thief. That the level of theft in the other side, the level of corruption in the so-called hustler side is such that if you gave them this country, they will steal all of it and put it in their pocket. So these are serious competing narratives which we must not ignore as we go to 2022. My advice, therefore, to the two sides is not to think that you will go to State House come 22 if you ignore these two narratives. My advice to them is that the usual way of Ghana getting voted for. The usual way of getting votes, such as using money, may still apply. Money will still be useful. But money may not be as usual as it has been, because money will not override. Money will not override these two narratives. The other thing we have used has been tribe. I want to imagine that for the first time, these narratives may have a way of overriding tribe as a constituency or a demography. Because if you go to Central Province today, the former Central Province, or the larger Mount Kenya region, you begin to see that although people were with William Ruto, they are beginning to shift and giving all manner of excuses. I've been deep inside Central Province, and I've begun to hear things that Ruto is being disrespectful to the head of state. Ruto is doing things he shouldn't be doing. I see those as excuses, but in politics, that's it. It works. What you may call excuses is going to work, because I can already see that demography. I can already see the tribe is no longer as whole as it was in previous elections. That as we speak today, the older people, the maturer people from Mount Kenya region have almost certainly shifted to Uhuru Kenyatta. And it's because of these narratives. That one, they would have wanted to support William Samoei Ruto, but William Samoei Ruto is corrupt to the core. Correct? Two, they would have wanted to support William Samoei Ruto, but as much as they would have wanted to support Ruto, he is disrespectful to their son, who is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. You can therefore see a significant portion of the Mount Kenya vote is already shifting from Ruto and going towards the handshake, towards Uhuru and Raila. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that for the first time, you may find a cohesive, well-knit demographic like the Kikuyu constituents. You may find, for the first time, you may find them voting not as a bloc, but along the lines of the narratives we are talking about. The younger men and women among them seem convinced it is time for a hustler. The older people, like I said, seem to be going with what they know. And this is a shift. I don't know where it will end, but it's an indication, a good indicator, that those who rely on the old ways of getting votes may be in for a rude shock. If you think you are Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and merely being the head of the Mount Kenya region, you'll sway them as a bloc, you may get a shock. You may find they are split, and a significant part of that constituency votes for the hustler nation because they believe in that narrative. Equally, Ruto may have thought Mount Kenya region was under wraps, but he may be shocked, as indeed he must be aware now that there's a significant portion of that area of the people of the Mount who are beginning to shift. And this not on the basis of tribe now, but on the basis of these two narratives. So today, I wish to once again advise the two sides that they should not think in the old way. They must mobilize for their votes, aware that the narrative for the first time in this country will determine this election.